welcome to Potter Revisited, episode 105. I'm Tori.
And I'm Shay.
Today we are covering Chapter 7 of Order of the Phoenix, the Ministry of Magic.
Or, as we like to call it, Department of Injustice.
Well, this is the quintessential chapter where we are finally going into the Ministry of Magic as Harry has his disciplinary hearing. But at the beginning, there's this moment where, of course, Harry wakes up and he's quickly getting dressed and getting ready for his hearing, and he hears the portrait in his room, like, laughing at him. And we know that's Phineas Nigellus, but it's also kind of weird that he's laughing at Harry getting changed. Kind of a red flag.
Absolutely a red flag.
It's like what you talked about last episode about the portraits just watching you.
Creepy.
It's not great.
So Harry wakes up and he goes downstairs, and there's a couple people sitting around the table. And Remus Lupin is absolutely being what we need him to be at all times. He's just so aware of Harry's personality and the circumstances, and he knows Harry just wants to have time to be in his own head, to not have to, pay attention to what everyone else is asking of him or offering to him. So Lupin just, sets a conversation topic that has nothing to do with Harry and lets people carry on with that. And I think it's a blessing. May we all be perpetually grateful to Remus Lupin.
Remus is always just, exactly what we need so far in this book. He's just the voice of reason. He's keeping everyone calm, collected.
He is the best of us. We also have a description. You mentioned Harry getting dressed up in his freshly pressed jeans and t-shirt, and it just boggles my mind that he's going to the government offices to try and plead his case against crime, and they're sending him in jeans and a t-shirt. I understand they don't think it's going to be a big thing, but it's still a formal hearing.
It's not great.
They should get him a button-up shirt and a tie. They can use one of Arthur's old ones or one of Ron's old ones. There's button-up shirts and ties available somewhere, or buy him some.
Yeah.
The boy is rich. Be like, we used some of your money, Harry, to buy you a shirt and a tie because you're going to an important hearing and you want to look like you're taking it seriously and not like you just rolled out of bed.
Yeah, it's weird he doesn't have at least a button-up collared shirt. I feel like this is the 90s. That was just the style.
He's got to have a dress shirt. He's got to have something, or something he could borrow from someone else there.
It's not great. They're all giving him advice too, and they're all just kind of talking over each other, being make sure you be very good and use your manners. Make sure you don't tell them off. Stand up straight.
Yeah, I have a bunch of points about this at the end and how they basically just threw him in with the sharks.
Yeah, but we'll talk about... But I did think it was interesting when Lupin's talking to Mr. Weasley and Tonks about their order business, that as Tonks works in the order office, that we get a reference to Scrimgeour. It's just a little offhanded reference that he's getting suspicious about them. And it's just interesting that this is obviously a character who's going to play a huge part in Half-Blood Prince and a bit in Deathly Hallows. And we get a little offhanded mention early on. So I just thought that was nice to mention. And of course, it's very Scrimgeour for him just to kind of be spying on his coworkers.
Yeah.
Arthur explains that Harry's hearing is mostly just going to be him going to Amelia Bones' office. And that's where the hearing's going to be. And he has to explain why he did what he did, and Arthur's telling him all this advice to be to the point. They tell Harry that Amelia Bones is strict, but she's fair, and so it's not supposed to be this huge thing. However, corruption is corruption, and it doesn't end up that way. And so Arthur is taking Harry into the office with him, which is nice, and they go the Muggle way, so they're taking the train in, it brings back some commuting memories to me. Some not great, some okay, but
Gosh, I have no great commuting memories.
I feel like when I moved to the city, after being from a small town and going to university, college in a small town, that the idea of the subway and just really available transit was so novel to me because I didn't drive, and living in a small town when you can't drive is very isolating. So being able to just go somewhere was very, amazing to me for that first experience. But living in the city for 5-8 years, whatever I lived there for, you realize its faults very early on.
Oh yeah. So after the train, the next step in their commute is to take a telephone box. So it's a phone booth that they get into and they dial the number and it elevates them into the ministry.
Yes.
That does to me feel kind of like a lazy ripoff of Doctor Who. I know that's a traveling police box and not a phone box, but they basically look the same. So I do feel like that's a bit of a lazy visual steal kind of from existing IP. The author probably could have been a bit more creative.
I also love that Harry, when they're going up to this like decrepit phone booth, Harry's just like, they have the Ministry of Magic here in this scuzzy area. He's like, I expect more.
He's so judgy. He's seen the Wizard Bank, so I'm assuming he's like, I'm expecting the Wizard Government building to be like as awesome as the bank.
I mean, if I saw Gringotts and then I saw like, you know, a scuzzy like alleyway with a gross not police box, phone booth, I would be like, this is where the government is. This explains a lot.
So they enter the actual ministry once they get out of the telephone box, and it's like a big grand atrium hall. There's all these fireplaces on the side because people are fluing in, and there's this big giant statue sort of in the middle in a fountain. And the fountain has a bunch of money in the bottom and a sign that basically says all money in the fountain will be donated to basically the hospital for tragic magical incidents. I didn't write the name down. It's a hospital. And Harry's thinking, wow, you know, if my hearing goes well, I'm going to put in 10 whole galleons. And I'm just like, I'm the sort of the reverse of that, where like if I'm about to do something, I would want to put the money in ahead of time to like get that good karma. So I'm going into the hearing with good karma rather than like paying the world back for being fair to me, you know? Like, I used to, like, go give blood before I wrote my exams, like, a day or two before I wrote my exams, because I'm like, I've donated blood, I'm a good person, I will not pass out or throw up during this exam, also maybe I'll pass the exam. So, like, that's what I used to do. So in my mind, I'm like, Harry, put your galleons in now. Get the karma, you need it.
You need the good karma.
So there's like a security booth in the atrium, and Harry has his like wand checked in so they know what type of wand it is. I guess in case they find malicious spells were done in the ministry that day, they can like trace it to him.
I feel like it's identification.
But Mr. Weasley knows the guy at the security desk's name, which I think is a very, very great example of like showing us who Mr. Weasley is and him being exactly who we interpret him to be.
Yes.
Because like, I'm not saying it's not a very important job to be security there, but he's one of many people. I'm sure different people, different days of the week. And I feel like Arthur Weasley is just as likely to know this guy's name as he is to know some upper management guy with a very shiny job. You know what I mean? He doesn't look down on people for their positions. He views everyone as equal in a way that most people don't. And this is just like a really brief, like completely brushed over example of that.
Yeah, it feels like he doesn't really have an ego. Like he doesn't look down on anyone for what positions they have, where you can kind of see in the ministry, there's a definitely like stereotypical like hierarchy of like what departments are better and more prestigious. And so working security in the government is still, I think, a pretty decent gig, but I'm sure people don't take the time to get to know you or your name or remember anything about you. And Mr. Weasley is that person.
I feel like a lot of people communicate with others in the office only with the intention of ambition. Like they're like, I need to talk to someone who is in the department I want to be in, or need to talk to someone who has the ability to give me a raise or a promotion. And the idea that Arthur Weasley is also on a first name basis with someone who does not stand between him and a promotion in any way just shows the kind of guy he is. It's not about ambition. It's not about self-growth. It's not about networking. It's just about being a pro-social human.
Yes, so we have Eric the security guard, and
Eric is such a muggle-sounding name to me. I'm like, are you sure it's Eric?
yes.
Sounds fake, but okay.
Eric's just hanging out, doing his job. He's walking Harry through, getting his wand checked in and stuff. And it's not till I guess Eric realizes who Harry is that he's like, wait a minute. And like, was he told to, like, you know, stop Harry, confiscate his wand, make a citizen's arrest? Who knows?
But he doesn't keep Harry's wand. He gives it back to him. He just, like, weighs it.
Well, yeah, but I feel like after he gives it back, he recognizes Harry, and that's when he's like, hang on a minute, and Mr. Weasley kind of drags him off, being like, thank you, bye. Because I just feel like as soon as Harry gets to the ministry, everyone's just trying to, like, delay him and stop him and make him look bad. And I wonder if Fudge was like, hey, Harry's coming to the, you know, ministry. Let's get all these people to get in his way.
I actually didn't interpret it as, like, part of the whole political operation. I saw it as, like, the guy was so not paying attention at his, like, a monotonous job task that he didn't look at the face or the name tag of the individual. And then when he did, he's like, holy crap, you're that famous guy. Like, he was going to be like, you're Harry Potter, the boy who lived. Aren't you a nutter now? Like, that's sort of what I interpreted it as.
Oh, and maybe I'm just so jaded. I'm just like, Cornelius is, you know, going around doing corrupt things.
Fair. It could be either. It could be both, even. He's like, I forgot I'm supposed to harass you a little. Get back here. So they get in the elevator. First of all, I love that they have elevators. Like, they could have just easily had magical moving stairs like Hogwarts, but the author was just like, no, we're just going to stick with elevators. That's corporate. And I'm like, I guess some things are just going to be that way.
You can't take the bureaucracy out of the office. It's there forever.
Seriously, where are the slides? If we're going downstairs, I want to take a slide at the magical government.
I mean, I worked at an office that had a slide, and I never took it.
What?
It was a terrible slide.
I wish my office had a slide.
No, it was a terrible slide. It was like all staticky, and it was just like, I don't know, not comfortable.
Oh, I would heckin' take a slide. I also love one of the few brief moments of like actual whimsy is they're in the elevator and the interdepartmental notes are flying into the elevator between floors and it's paper planes. And I'm like, that's such a cute, fun, and whimsical thing. Like, it reminds me briefly of the like fun and goofy whimsical things you see in like the first 2 and 3 books where there's still like that childish joy.
Little kind of goofy stuff it's fun.
Yeah, exactly. Like, they describe Dumbledore looking heckin' goofy and silly and don't make him this big and scary guy early on, you know? That's how I feel about paper airplanes in the elevator. It's cute, it's wholesome, it's a sense of whimsy, just in time to remind you that Harry's in, like, the worst place ever, surrounded by some of the worst people ever.
Yeah, he's in a corrupt government office with all this bureaucracy and red tape, but also there's paper airplanes. I do wonder if the paper airplane like memos, like if like owls, you can tell them to be like, you better like harass this person for reply ASAP.
Oh my gosh.
Because I think one of my biggest pet peeves is when I had like really important things and I was like, I need a response in the next 10 minutes. It's time sensitive. And then a manager or someone would be like, la-di-da.
Story of my life.
I wonder if you could like magic the memos to like poke them in the eye or something.
Yeah, like howlers, like the middle ground between a howler and a...
Like, it's not going to yell at you, but it's going to like, bug you until you respond. We go through the order department to Arthur's office.
Or is sit in cubicles.
Yeah, they sit in cubicles like, the police of today in their bullpen. But
like me, I sit in a cubicle.
I used to sit in a cubicle.
Corporate girlies!
But Kingsley's there, and Arthur and him have this kind of fun thing where they pretend they don't really know each other, and Harry almost blows it. I just thought that was kind of fun, and obviously they're looking for Sirius Black. They got all these images of him, and Kingsley's steering them off track. He's like, Sirius is definitely abroad.
On a motorcycle.
And he gives him the Quibbler article for Sirius to look at later. Getting to Arthur's office, I feel like it really shows the lack of respect the Ministry has for his department, because it's just basically a broom cover, Harry describes it as, where they kind of squeeze 2 desks in. There's no window or anything. Arthur mentions that, like, magical maintenance won't put a window in for them. So it's just like the lack of respect for it, even though I feel like Arthur's job's actually quite important for like the security and the secrecy of magic.
Yeah.
They don't take it seriously.
Yeah. It seems like a very important job, but it's not a very ambitious job. It's clearly not a job that the higher ups respect. And also they just don't like Arthur, right? Arthur's friends with Harry Potter. Those that are racist don't like Arthur because of who he associates with. People he's not rich, like all the snooty, uppity Lucius Malfoy types aren't going to respect a job like Arthur's. Also because it's protecting muggles from wizards. Like, it's the opposite of what some of them want. It's like, no, let the wizards accidentally blow up the muggles' toilets. That's fine.
And we'll just make an excuse.
Yeah, like it really says a lot about the actual higher-ups at the Ministry, who we haven't heard much about except for the Minister. Like, it lets you know what's going on in middle and upper management, and it ain't pretty.
And, like, what their priorities are.
Yeah, it's pretty brutal.
So they don't want to blow their cover, but they're also not going to do anything to help.
So speaking of Arthur's job, he's talking about the exploding toilets that some of the magical community have rigged to make muggles look silly. And he calls plumbers pumbles. He's like, they don't know what to do about their toilets. They're calling the pumbles. I know Arthur's so interested in the muggle world and it fills him with whimsy and he loves his job. But realistically, would not a wizard who had some experience with muggles be better suited for this job? Like, it doesn't have to be a muggle-born, but maybe a half-blood or someone who attended muggle kindergarten. Like, there has to be people who know what a plumber is, who understand what a toilet, like, the wizards use toilets. But, like, there's certain parts of the muggle world that are, like, you need to have the context and understanding of how they're used and how muggles use them and how they work in order to do this job. And I just feel like either Arthur should have had to do some sort of, like, on-the-job training where he has to like work in like a semi-muggle facing job for a while to get to know how muggles work, or something, because it just seems like he's dealing with things that he does not understand at all, and his intentions are great, and I love that he's passionate about his job, but there's some sort of level of like educating him that's missing.
Yeah, passion can only take you so far.
Yeah.
Like, you do need knowledge and relevant skills. I do wonder, like, what we know that they don't really have, like, post-secondary in the Wizarding world. So I wonder if he just took, like, 1 or, like, 3 years of Muggle studies and that's, like, all he has. But I feel like, I don't know if they have, like, charters of rights and freedoms or, like, human rights things, but I guess it could be discriminatory to, like, discriminate against him just because he hasn't, like, lived with Muggle.
Just because he's a pureblood, I guess. I guess it would be kind of silly to be like, you're a pureblood, you're not allowed to do this job.
Yeah, it's like reverse.
If he cannot understand it just now and he wants the job, like I said, some sort of on-the-job training that introduces him to the Muggle world, it just feels like not maybe the smartest choice on the part of the Ministry.
Well, it also kind of shows that they just don't care.
Yeah.
They don't care, because even Kingsley says, like, something wrong, and then Arthur corrects him, but it's just like it shows the lack of care they have for it, because Arthur's the only one that cares and he's not even getting things right, and so all their knowledge is probably based off like what Arthur figures out or can like infer from stuff, but he's still not getting it accurately, and that's probably why Muggle wizard relations are so terrible and like not a priority.
It's very sad.
Like, they're just like, whatever. So Harry's just sat down and he's just talking to Mr. Weasley about the exploding toilets when Perkins, Arthur's coworker, comes in and tells them that they changed Harry's location and time of his hearing.
Classic.
And they changed it to 8 o'clock, so he's already 5 minutes late, and they changed it from Amelia's office to down in the dungeons where we know from the memories of Goblet of Fire is where they used to do like the Azkaban hearings with the Death Eater. So
yeah, seems a bit excessive.
Yeah, for like 15-year-old Harry. And it's just like, this would like never fly in office. Like, if you change the meeting time and like people don't like acknowledge time, that would be like a red flag, being like, maybe I should check.
Yeah, you would think. Especially because like Harry's coming from out of town as far as they know. Like,
yeah,
it takes time to get places.
It's not just a Zoom call.
Silly. Really, really silly.
Yeah, but they definitely 100% changed it to screw Harry over. Harry's asking Arthur why they changed the time, and he's like, I have no idea. And it's just like, they want to screw you over. They want him to be expelled. They want him to look bad.
Yeah, exactly. They're changing the time because they're wicked and unjust. Never mind the Department of Justice. They are the Department of Injustice.
So as they are hurrying down to the Department of Mysteries where the hearings are, we have a small cameo from Bode, who will obviously play a bit of a bigger role later on, where he's pretty like depressed sounding and trying to talk to Arthur. And Arthur just still, it's like he knows everyone despite his role in the Ministry. He doesn't really have any care of who works where. He's just there. He's just very social, all around great guy.
Respectful, nice dude.
And we get Harry and Mr. Weasley run up to the door, and then Mr. Weasley says he has to go in by himself. Mr. Weasley's not coming with him, and Harry's kind of shocked by this, and I think it's fair because he should have someone with him. He's a minor.
Absolutely. Who knows nothing about the legal system, does not know what his rights are.
Should have some kind of advocate. Like we say, Harry should lawyer up.
Seriously, no one prepared Harry for this trial. And like, I know they didn't expect a full trial, but they probably could have prepared him for the small hearing they were anticipating.
I think it makes sense for a representative from his school to be there because they're trying to decide if he's going to be allowed to go back to school or not. So I feel like McGonagall, Dumbledore should be there to, look at Harry's record, see what's going on, because they'll have to facilitate his, expulsion from school if he gets expelled.
Yep.
And I think Harry would have felt better knowing Dumbledore was going to be there. Like, obviously, it's a big dramatic surprise. Dumbledore appears. He's all quirky and dramatic. But I think Harry would have felt better, and he would have been a bit, more prepared knowing Dumbledore's going to be there to kind of be his advocate.
Or even McGonagall. Even just, like you said, even just at the little hearing with Mrs. Bones, it could have just been Harry, Mrs. Bones, and McGonagall.
Yeah.
Basically what they should have done for Harry Potter. days before this, because they should not have been giving him last minute advice at the breakfast table this morning. This morning should have been letting him be in his own head, just telling him it's going to be okay and that's it. They should have been preparing him days in advance. They should have A, got him a dress shirt and a goddamn tie. 2, they should have told him the etiquette of a meeting with a government official, like how should he speak to Miss Bones? What should he call her? Ma'am, miss, judge? I don't know, but he should know that. And they should have sat Harry Potter the fuck down and had him practice his testimony.
Yes.
Say, oh, this is how you're going to say it. This is what happened. You're going to want to be clear about the details. You want to make sure you remember the details. And then they should have had him do it while having someone annoying, probably the twins, interrupting him to ask questions. Because then he'll know that he can do it while stressed, and he can practice maintaining a non-stressed sounding voice while being frustrated. That is what should have happened. And instead of that, what they actually did was iron his jeans, and that's it.
Who irons jeans in the first place?
I mean, she wanted him to look presentable, and they couldn't find a goddamn tie.
Yeah. I do feel like Ron, Hermione, and the twins and Ginny would have done like a good mock trial. Like, you have Hermione being like the ministry. Ron could have been like his defense. And then the twins are just kind of like, the bystanders who are interrupting and asking questions to kind of like make sure he's ready. And just kind of keeping his story straight.
They had all the right people there to do it. They could have even had like McGonagall step in and play the role of Miss Bones asking the questions, because she's also like an authoritative woman who makes Harry a little nervous sometimes. Like, they had so many options of what to do. And again, I know they had a lot going on at that house, but this is kind of keeping Harry in Hogwarts as a priority. And they could have spent like an hour a day preparing Harry for this important thing. And instead, they let him be distracted. They intentionally distracted him.
Yeah, there's a lot riding on this.
It's so irresponsible. It drives me nuts.
I feel like they should have known that Fudge would have tried to do something with how corrupt they know he is. And I feel like even if they didn't expect the full trial, they should have, spent more time with Harry, making sure he got his stories straight and kind of like had his talking points for, it's like, word it like this, don't talk about this.
Don't mention how much you hate your cousin Dudley, Things that you do say, things that you don't say. Tone of voice is so important, because when you get frustrated and you sound too defensive, people might think you're lying. If Harry sounded very chill and like, I'm so sorry I had to do that, I wish I hadn't, it was so scary, in a polite way, he could have absolutely knocked it out of the park. And it's the type of training that, like, even though they didn't know it was going to become this big trial that it becomes, he could have used very similar, except for maybe not calling the Minister of Magic ma'am, if that's what he was supposed to call Miss Bones. But, like, definitely could have used a lot of those lessons, even in this case, and he would have felt somewhat prepared. They sent him in blind, and it was grimy.
Yeah, Dumbledore needs Harry in school for, to watch over him and to, do his Dumbledore stuff. So I feel like preparing him was important.
I wonder if it's like a douchebag Dumbledore request, because someone at that goddamn Grimmauld place was probably like, Harry Potter should be prepared for this. Let's go over our notes. Remus Lupin, probably, And I get, the only way it makes sense that at least one of those adults didn't consider preparing Harry for the hearing is if Dumbledore said, don't prepare him, don't worry about it, I'm going to step in and save the day. And everyone's like, Harry's going to be really, really stressed. So we're just going to leave him.
Yeah, don't worry, I got this.
Dumbledore says it's fine. So Harry could freak out and be stressed and think his life is over. It's fine because Dumbledore will step in. Like, that's the only way it makes any sense, because it's stupid.
Yeah, maybe Dumbledore made it seem like it wasn't a huge deal. Like, don't worry, just get Harry there. I'll take care of the rest. And they're like, okay, Dumbledore.
They shouldn't believe him. He's such a ugh. Okay, anyhow, welcome to our Dumbledore Hate podcast. So I have a lot of notes just like on the Ministry, because the Ministry is mostly just petty and racist.
Yep.
So I think we should talk about that. So it is just like such an abundance of like petty office politics, full-on propaganda, and racism. And I mean, that really is just what government is. So wow.
Define government.
Spot on. The racism is all over, but I think the most starkly offensive example is when the elevator is explaining what's on each floor, and it mentions that the Department of, like, dealing with magical beasts is also the same floor as the Goblin Liaison Office, which is deeply offensive because goblins are, like, beings. Like, they're humanoid. They're
sentient humanoid beings. Like,
they're humanoids. Like, they're not a dragon. You know what I mean? And the fact that they're like, it's very dehumanizing. Like, to me, goblins are humans, wizards are humans, centaurs are humans,
Yeah.
Fang is a dog. You know what I mean? It's pretty clear where that line is, and yet the Ministry of Magic is sort of dehumanizing them by putting them on this floor. And it's really offensive.
You can see kind of the disrespect.
Exactly. And then the propaganda and racism as well together, just like specifically with this statue in the atrium.
Oh, the statue's bad.
It's a statue where just everyone is looking adoringly up at this wizard as if the sun shines out of his ass. And like specifically, centaurs are looking up at him lovingly. Centaurs who the ministry treats like crap. They're limiting their land. They abuse them. They don't have fair equal legal rights. Goblins, who again the ministry does not view as equals, and house elves, who they literally enslave.
Yeah.
It's really, really gross. It's repulsive, and it's so real. Like, they're sitting there and they're saying, no, we're not hurting you. We're helping you. We swear. You'd love it. Trust us. And there are some wizards who don't have interactions with centaurs or goblins, and they might be thinking, they do love us wizards. We're so great. We're so helpful to them. Because they don't know better. And that's the false truth that the ministry is pushing, and it's gross.
Yeah, they're saying goblins should look up to us when really goblins have a very legitimate reasons not to trust wizards and not to like them. And then you have the propaganda machine going, and then wizards like, why do goblins want to kill us? Why have they done all this terrible stuff to us? We've done nothing wrong. We've been
kicking them in the face for years, and suddenly they don't want to be our friends? That's so weird.
Yeah, the statue just feels very egotistic of wizards to put themselves at the top and be like, we are like the supreme gods, and showing the creatures that they enslave or segregate or just make life terrible for, looking up at them adoringly like they should be worshipped. It kind of shows the tone of,
with love and inspiration in their eyes, which is so false.
Yeah, it shows the tone of like what the ministry has of like the wizards first mentality, basically.
Even the fact that the centaur is looking up at them, like, centaurs are part horse, so like they're tall as fuck. How are they looking up at this wizard, you know? It sort of reminds me about how people say that the Emperor Napoleon wasn't as short as people remember him as, because the opposition countries discussed his shortness as a way to like demean people seeing him as powerful. So like historically we remember this guy as being really short, but he's probably just like a little bit short. But by like depicting him as smaller, it made him seem less intimidating, less fierce, less like, you know. And I think that's what's happening with the centaur. They're like, we don't want people to know they're big and strong, and, you know, no, we're going to make them seem small and feeble and like a baby doe looking with wide eyes up at the wizards, because, ugh. Again, the propaganda, just like,
it's a propaganda machine. Surprised they don't have a department of propaganda.
The whole thing is really a department of propaganda. This isn't the Department of International Cooperation. It's the Department of making us look good to other countries. I also have, now I've talked about the racism, I've talked about the propaganda, and we also just have like the full-on pettiness, which is very real. They've got the maintenance department who, when negotiating raises, made hurricanes in all of the fake windows. And I love that. I respect that. I think that's fair.
I love that. That's one of my favorite tidbits.
I love a peaceful protest. I love a protest. I love a petty. I'm all for it. Absolutely. Also, we have the pettiness of the fact that Arthur's department is told they don't need a window. It does not sound like the magic that is used to make the fake windows is particularly difficult. It feels like it's something that could be done rather quickly by someone, and they're just depriving Arthur and his coworker of it because they want them to feel less than, like they don't deserve a window.
It's also just like they probably don't have any sway in the upper hierarchy of things.
Yeah, what are you offering us in exchange?
So they're just like, what's the point of us giving you a window? Because I'm sure for other departments, they have a sway in their jobs. They're just like, obviously, higher ups they could probably influence their pay or like their hours or their working conditions. But Arthur's department does nothing for them. So they're just kind of like...
Yeah. It's very real. Like, I feel like that's exactly how in a big office, and specifically the government, that works, you know? You want this thing and I could easily give it to you, but if I just give it to you, other people who can offer me things won't offer me things in exchange for it, so I'm not giving it to you.
It's just another reminder to be very kind to your maintenance / custodian departments. They really make the office great, and if you piss them off, it's not great.
Exactly. Everyone you work with, regardless of if they are your boss's boss or the person who fixes the coffee machine, the person who fixes the coffee machine is actually the most important person in any workplace.
Yeah, the person that maintains the elevator. Important. But I definitely get the magical maintenance, because if I wanted a pay raise, I would also make it like hurricane season.
I feel like if I wanted a pay raise, I'd be extra grumpy and I'd be like, you don't pay me enough to smile.
But you've listed some of the best ministry jobs in your opinion.
Yes, because we get to hear a lot about the ministry through the elevator as it introduces everyone to their floors. And I'm going to say my two favorites. Number one is the ludicrous patent office.
Yeah.
Hysterical. It's also on the same floor as like the Department of Gaming, which is just also very funny. Like you and your buddy can make a bet over whose patent is going to get approved first. Then you go into the silly and hysterical patent office.
That feels like something Fred and George would do.
All day. I feel like they make up millions of things in a day and mass send in ideas, you know?
I do feel like that's one department they could have excelled at, because Molly really wants them to go in the ministry, but they're just like, we're not about that corporate life, but in another dimension.
Well, they didn't realize that there's a fun and ludicrous department just waiting for their fun, creative ideas, you know? I mean, I feel like the actual department doesn't come up with the ideas. It approves them, like, okay, we accept your patent. Or probably more likely denies their patent, but it could be a very fun job. I bet they laugh a lot in that department, you know?
Yeah.
And my other favorite department is the Muggle-worthy excuse committee. Love it. Very interested. I feel like I could do that job.
I feel like Ron would be really good at that, and also the twins too. But they need some kind of Muggle background, I think.
Yeah. I feel like we often think government jobs are really, really boring, but we remember it's the Wizarding World and their kids' books, and they throw in little things like this, and it's like, this is cute, this is fun, I am interested, because sometimes it's hard to remember what the jobs are for these kids when they grow up in this franchise, because you really only hear about Harry wanting to be an Aura, and I guess Oliver Wood wanting to play Quidditch, but like, it's so nice to be reminded that there's fun and whimsical jobs all over the place.
And making excuses, I think, could be fun. And you can have like a betting pool to see who makes the most outrageous excuse, and it like works.
Yeah, you could fill out your betting in the betting department in the friggin' sports wing.
I said that magical maintenance was pretty cool just because if you're pissed off, you can kind of like really fuck with people. And you can just be petty, and that's your job, and I kind of like that.
Professional pettiness.
Because I think in Deathly Hallows, Yaxley's office is raining, and I'm pretty sure someone in magical maintenance probably did that, so.
Oh, you're right. That's you. That's your...
That's what I would do.
You're like, I've impacted the war against evil by inconveniencing Yaxley.
Inconveniencing evil.
I love that for you. It's a silent protest, but he felt
but
you know?
It inconvenienced him. I love inconveniencing people. That pissed me off.
Yes. This is why we're Slytherins, listeners. We're just like, this is how I would piss off the bad guys. This is what I would do. This is, ladies and gentlemen, Slytherins.
I don't want to, defeat them or anything. I just want to make their lives just a little bit harder.
Yeah, we're not heroes. But we're not villains. We're just
trying to survive.
Yeah, and find joy.
That's the chapter. We get into more of the hearing in the next chapter, but did you have any other remarks before we wrap up?
I mean, my biggest remark is just, this is a very believable interpretation of government.
Yes.
It is sad because most of the things we learn about the government are bad, but it is believable. Also, I am still frustrated that no one actually prepared Harry for this hearing.
Yeah.
In whatever context they knew it was going to be, regardless of changes. Either Dumbledore said, hang him out to dry, I'll step in last minute and be a hero again, or they're all really, really dumb, and I find it hard to believe about someone like Molly Weasley, who I think is very smart, and someone like Remus Lupin, who is, he's proven, he's both understanding of Harry's overall, response to situations, and he's smart. He knew this was stressing Harry out. They shoulda, coulda, and didn't.
Yeah, I feel like they wanted the payoff of, the anxiety of Harry going into this big hearing, not having anyone or any kind of idea about it, and then Dumbledore coming in, surprisingly, to save the day. But as an adult, this stuff stresses me out, not being prepared for a serious meeting.
Yeah.
And I feel bad for Harry, because this is, a life skill where, preparing for, interviews, jobs, disciplinary hearings, you gotta know how to comport yourself. And poor Harry's just doesn't have a support system.
I feel like the closest thing he had is maybe hearing Vernon Dursley complain about having a big meeting coming up at work. And Harry's sitting there in his closet under the stairs being like, wow, I imagine what that's like. Vernon's been preparing for the big meeting for weeks, you know? And all he knows is you have to prepare for it well in advance and you need to be stressed about it, but he doesn't know what the work is.
Basically, the vibes I get from this chapter are just, government is just super corrupt. And poor Harry going into this big hearing that he was not prepared for, because what he was told was small hearing with one person where you explain your side of the story, and it's fine. And now he's walking into a trial. That's my biggest nightmare.
Literally, I was like, you and I would have thrown up. We would walk into the room, we would throw up all over the Minister of Magic or Barty Crouch, and then leave, like pass out. Throw up, and then pass out in a throw up.
For the anxiety girlies out there, I'm someone who likes to be prepared for things. I need to know ahead of time what the thing is.
We need to know, we need to have practiced, we need to have taken a lorazepam.
Yeah, so I feel for Harry here. Good luck, my dude. But thank you. Yeah, thanks for listening. We'll be back next time to discuss Chapter 8 of Order of the Phoenix, The Hearing. If you like this episode or others, make sure to follow us on Spotify or wherever you listen to your podcasts. You can reach out to us on social media at Pottery Visited for any feedback on our episodes, or you can email us at potteryvisitedpodcast@gmail.com, and we will see you next time.
Bye.